Minister of Foreign Affairs.
For Madam Aïssata, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Senegalese abroad. A round of applause, please.
All right. Nous allons commencer dans un instant.
We're going to kickstart the ceremony.
Voilà, nous allons commencer dans un instant. Madame Aïssata.
So in a minute, we're going to kickstart the ceremony. We have with us Mrs. Aïssata Sall to open this critical conference. She is a politician. She's also a lawyer and a member of the political bureau of the Socialist Party. She's been a minister under President Abdou Diouf, MP and mayor of Podor, and she has a degree in law studies that she obtained from Cheikh Anta Diop University. She's a lawyer. She's the former mayor of the city of Podor, and from July 1998 to April 2000 in the government of Mr. Abdou Diouf, she was the Minister of Communication and spokesperson of the government. So, a government that was headed by the Prime Minister, Mr. Mohamed Lamine Loum. And after the Congress of the Socialist Party, she became the first one in the party to be the Secretary General of the Regional Union of Saint-Louis of Senegal. In March 2009, she took part in the legislative elections under the banner of Benno Siggé Senegal, and with her team, she was elected mayor of Podor. She was re-elected during the legislative elections in June 2014. In 2012, she was elected under Benno Bokk Yakaar and was representing her party at the parliament, with Mr. Moustapha Niasse being the chair of the house. And she took part in the legislative elections in July 2017 and became an MP for the movement that she founded. In September 2019, she became a minister, special envoy of the head of state, Mr. Macky Sall. November the 1st, 2020, she was appointed Minister of Foreign Affairs and Senegalese of the diaspora and became the first woman to be appointed as such. A round of applause for Mrs. Aïssata Sall. Thank you very much, ma'am, for being here with us this evening.
Thank you very much. Just for the benefit of my fellow English speakers, I know you have headsets, but I'll just give you a short synopsis. So Madam Aïssata is the Republic of Senegal's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Senegalese abroad. She is the former mayor of Podor, and she has been leading in the fight for the rights of women and the poor. She will preside over the opening ceremony on behalf of the state of Senegal. Give her a round of applause, please.
Thank you. And now the floor goes to, just mention the presence of Mr. Baaba Maal. Yeah. Maal is rocking the world now. with his last album. Congratulations. Right. OK? Et bien entendu, nous avons aussi le professeur Soko.
And of course, we have Professor Soko, that is from which university, Johannesburg. We also have our dearest Ebrima Sall, Executive Director of TrustAfrica. Ebrima, over to you.
Excellence.
Excellency, Madam Aïssata Sall, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Senegalese of abroad. Should I say Excellency Mr. El Haj Baaba Maal, Professor Soko of Wits University.
Mesdames et messieurs les invités,
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and colleagues, it's an immense pleasure to have the Honorable Minister, Mrs. Aïssata Sall. We know that you have a busy schedule. We knew that beforehand. We know that you spent the whole day at the Council of Ministers, but you made some time out of your busy schedule to join us here in Saly. Thank you very much. Thank you for the interest that you are showcasing to our event. Thank you for the commitment that you are showing in defending change and development of Africa, because this is what is at stake. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for bringing along Mrs. Penda Mbow. She is a professor at the Cheikh Anta Diop University, former Minister of Culture of Senegal, and all the eminent personalities that we have here. We have so many of them that we cannot list them one after the other. As I was saying, we know that you have a busy schedule, and we couldn't find the right words to express our appreciation for your presence. We feel strengthened and supported by your presence. This conference is being held for the first time in a country where we call it the country of Teranga, and you showcase the real hospitality in Teranga of Senegal, coming to see us on a very busy day. This conference is happening at a time when the world is going through some turmoil. We cannot list all the problems that we are faced with. We were talking about climate change. We were talking about inequalities, poverty, challenges coming with technology and the digital revolution. And we were talking about development as a whole. And to that was added COVID-19. So COVID-19 that changed the world. And to that, we experience other crises, a war that is happening somewhere in the world and for which we are feeling the consequences here on this continent. So we are saying that the world is at a critical point, and we felt the need to rethink our ways of doing and reshape our trajectory for development. And this is why in 2015, the international community, under the auspices of the UN, adopted what we call the SDGs. And the motto was to make sure that together we build the world that we want, and we do not derive from our objectives an inclusive world, an equitable world, and a world in which nobody will be left behind. But we didn't know how fair we were to our expectations until we felt the aggravated circumstances in which we found ourselves. Talking about climate, we know that there are emergencies, but apart from climate, we have issues in education and also emergencies in development. And anything that is happening in the world is exacerbated in our continent. What we notice, however, is that despite all the problems, the social movements and the thinkers of this world have shown that it is possible to imagine a better future. It is possible for the world to take a different trajectory. And this is the fight in which we have committed to. You are part of it as a minister on a daily basis. And this is the fight on which we have embarked, the African civil society, the private sector, and this is the fight on which philanthropy throughout the world has embarked. I'm talking about transformative philanthropy, philanthropy that is doing good. When we started 4 years ago in 2019 for the first gathering of this kind, we had the ambition to pursue the efforts that our forefathers, Janet, etc., Natalia, the founders of the spirit, had instilled. We were trying to restructure and organize the African philanthropy community, that community that is supporting the changes that the world is trying to implement in Africa. To be specific, we know that it is part of our culture to help each other. It is part of our culture to give what we have and not wait for wealth to be accumulated to start sharing. The Professor Jibril Fral was telling us during the first edition of this conference in 2019 that in Wolof, when you give something to someone, you hear a thank you, because when you're receiving something from someone, you say thank you, but the answer is it's something that we share, Nyokobok in Wolof. It's for both of us, which means that somehow what I've given you is part of what you own, and property is not exclusive. It means that somehow everybody is a custodian of the wealth. So it's something that was given to you and that actually belongs to you. That's the philosophy and Ubuntu. We know that the institutional structures have changed. Private foundations were operating on the continent with a lot of goodwill, trying to support the change processes, supporting communities and governments. But our belief at TrustAfrica and the belief of our partners with whom we're organizing this conference is that it is important that for Africa, the reflection or the designing of development as we want it and the actions that should be carried out for that development to happen should be led by ourselves as Africans. So in the field of philanthropy, we felt the need to organize ourselves and pursue the efforts of our elders so that we have an African philanthropy community, and that's what led us to organize this series of convenings. We had the first edition in Johannesburg in 2019. The second edition found us in the middle of COVID-19, so it was conducted virtually. Last year we did it in Johannesburg, and it was both virtual and in person. And this year we decided to come to West Africa, so go outside of Southern Africa in this other part of the continent that is rich and diverse, because the objective that we set for ourselves is that each time we organize this meeting, we try to showcase the local problems, and those should be discussed during the meeting. So coming to Senegal in West Africa, we tried to have a strong local participation, and we thank all the colleagues from West Africa, more specifically those from Senegal. And what is peculiar about how philanthropy is organized in this region, because we have many organizations from Senegal and other countries in West Africa that are participating in the debate, because we are convinced that these debates are important, and the contribution of this philanthropic community is also of paramount importance. And philanthropy is a partner to development. We tend to think of PPPs, public-private partnerships, which are very critical partnerships, but philanthropy and the philanthropists themselves are partners for development, and they are extremely determinant. And at community level, this is what enables us to continue to operate. This is this helping hand that we are giving to each other, participating and contributing with our time, our talent, our skills, and building, co-creating projects together that is contributing to the resilience of African communities. And in the same vein, we are convinced that if the philanthropy community organizes itself better, and we are able to establish a conducive environment to the flourishing of philanthropy, we'll be able to mobilize more domestic resources to support the development processes of the continent. And when we talk about the continent, as you know, Honorable Minister, we include our diaspora. And our diaspora, that is very critical, because our diaspora is contributing extensively not only to supporting the livelihood of families and communities, but also development, because the resources, the remittances are accounted for to billions per year. And it is even stronger than development public aid. And if we take into consideration the history of the world, and we stop for a minute and rethink our ways of doing and imagine a better future, it is also necessary for the philanthropy community to stop, mark a pause, and also reflect on how to support this process and participate in building a better future for our communities and continent. And that's why we chose as a theme for this fourth edition philanthropy at an inflection point, because the world is at its crossroads, and these trends cannot continue because we are moving towards chaos. Now, how do we stop and reflect on how to build a better world? The philanthropists are asking the same questions. They want to be real partners, collaborators of decision makers, civil society, and communities to build this better world that we want. I do not want to be too long. I just would like to tell you that we started with an academic conference at the Black Civilization Museum. It lasted 2 days. We had about 100 people attending that academic conference. Why do we call it academic conference? Because research and knowledge are part and parcel of what we should support and promote further. Development cannot thrive without research and development, and that's why we talk about economy of knowledge and knowledge society. And if we are aspiring to have this strong and performing and dynamic philanthropic community in Africa, we will need to be serious about research. Last year, we had a session in Johannesburg, and this year, we also held a very instructive academic conference here in Dakar. We came with a lot of researchers, the academia, and university professors who participated. So we wanted this exchange, this cross-fertilizing exchange between decision makers, practitioners, the community as a whole, because there is no such knowledge that would be qualified as higher than another, because we need to bring together all sources of knowledge, learn from what our elders were doing, and find alternative ways and find solutions to our complex problems. Today we had keynote address given by Mamadou Biteye, who is the Executive Secretary of the African Foundation for Capacity Building, CBF, which is a specialized agency of the AU for capacity building. So Mamadou gave us an excellent keynote speech, and tomorrow we will have another keynote speech by Professor Jerry Sall, who is with us, and tomorrow evening Dr. Akwasi will be giving us another keynote address during the gala dinner that we will be holding. And we have Natalia, who is also the Director General of UNFPA, and she's going to give the final keynote address on Friday. Another thing that we're going to do that contributes to building this community is giving awards, lifetime achievement awards. I don't know how to translate it in French. Maybe Halil can help me.
Minister Yusundur will be here tomorrow. He should have been here today, but he will be with us tomorrow. So once again, I would like to thank everyone for your participation, for your kind attention, and tell you again, once again, Madam, thank you very much. Thank you for the time, the commitment, for this wonderful encouragement that you're giving us in what we do. Professor, thank you very much.
My name is Soko. I'm a professor in international business and strategy at Wits Business School in South Africa. I'm also a director of development and partnerships at the school. Wits Business School is the graduate school of business administration at the University of the Witwatersrand, a well-known research institution that last year commemorated its centenary. Wits Business School itself is 55 years old and is one of the most recognized names in business education in Africa. But we are not just a business school in Africa, but an African business school. Part of our strategy is to therefore collaborate closely with other business schools in Africa. Another key strategic focus at WBS is to ensure we have impact. At the end of last year, we became fully accredited with the Association of African Business Schools, one of only a handful of schools that have been recognized by the AABS for the positive impact they're having in Africa. Under the leadership of Professor Beki Moyo and since its inception in 2017, the Center on African Philanthropy and Social Investment, otherwise known as CAPSI, has continued to break new ground, establishing itself as an international hub of knowledge, record-keeping, and research into philanthropy. What philanthropy means for Africans, not only as understood by the Western world, and its role in building a fair, sustainable, and equitable future for all Africans. CAPSI and Wits Business School are deeply aligned in our vision and mission, and we share the same sense of urgency to find solutions to issues which threaten our future sustainability, one of the most pressing of which is climate change. Philanthropy in Africa is indeed at an inflection point and demands careful scrutiny on the part of researchers, donors, practitioners to determine its future direction. I will include also here policymakers and politicians. The use of innovation and technology will play a key role, as will our youth here and local communities and of course policymakers. It is exciting to be able to come together from all corners of the African continent this week to attend a fully in-person conference for the first time since the first African Philanthropy Conference was held at Wits Business School in 2019. I would like to pay tribute to the powerful network of people and organizations present here who not only form a strong collective force behind the annual African Philanthropy Conference, but who are also passionately invested in the future of our beloved continent. And these are all the partners who, alongside CAPSI, have worked hard to ensure that this important conference sees the light of day. These are the African Philanthropy Forum, the African Philanthropy Network, the East Africa Philanthropy Network, the Southern Africa Trust, and TrustAfrica. In conclusion, together as academics, experts, policymakers, thought leaders, artists, we can make a profound difference to the sustainable growth and development of our continent. Welcome everyone, and thank you for having us here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Soto. Thank you, Ebrima, for the beautiful remarks. Baaba Maal va jouer deux morceaux.
Baaba is going to play two tunes, one in playback and one directly. And you have a message that just came to you. You have to listen to it. So before Mrs. Aïssata Sall take the floor, we'll have this short, pleasant pause, musical pause, and we will now listen to Mr. Baaba Maal. That's okay. Now we start with the playback.
Baaba Maal. Baaba Maal et Berita. Baba. Alors, Baaba Maal, aucun artiste.
Baaba Maal, no artist, no African artist from West Africa or from the country here in Senegal has so much stamped the name of Senegal throughout the world because of the Wakanda movie, Black Panther. So that
Yeah, New Africa Forever. You feel? How do you feel singing with Baaba Maal?
Yes. I feel honored as the future of African music. I am carried by legends. I am standing on the shoulders of giants today at the 4th African Philanthropy Conference. Thank you.
Thank you. Baaba Maal, quel est le sentiment qui vous...
Man, what feeling do you have now at this very time? You have behind you a sister from Podo, a Senegalese Gambian, a South African, and a room, an African room. So how do you feel with the microphone when we are exchanging on things of import to us? And what is important to us today is to take our destiny into our own hands. Absolutely. And when we talk about philanthropy, we know. Let me take a simple example. Our Lebu parents, I was told that during the seasons, the crop cultivation periods, everybody would care for his own farm. And sometimes family maybe would realize that his farm was not very productive, that he didn't have a good harvest. And very late at night, after when all other families have harvested their farms, every family would come in front at the door of those who would be were not successful with a bag of rice, a bag of millet, 2 bags, 3 bags, 10 bags. Everyone would come with what he had and what he could give from the bottom of his heart. And that family would wake up in the morning and would see at its front door a whole pile of bags of millet and rice, and would not be able to say that these bags are coming from Halil or these 4 bags are coming from Baaba Maal. It is the whole community that came to support them. That is just an example. That's it. That is a beautiful example to say that this solidarity has always existed on the African continent. And if Ebrima Sall comes to see me and say that now we have decided to take our destiny in our own hands, our trade, what we are doing for our populations, and which doesn't belong to us, because he said it in his speech, because it is the way of demonstrating to the whole world that we can assist the poorer strata of the population, those who need our support. And this is what I am singing. This is what I have been singing all over. So I think that it is a beautiful example to have this audience, and all those who are participating in this conference are ready to give to the rest of the African population, to our governments, to our youth, and to all those who are in the economy, in the industry, to say that what we have, we cannot say thank you to life as long as we don't share it with the rest of Africa. I'm very happy, I'm very proud to be next to this charming lady, and I would like you to give her a very big round of applause. We have to support them because they are artists. And particularly when we're talking about women who have a lot of commitment ready to meet the challenge. This is why I was singing in African Women. When we start saying people like Aïssata, our women at the forefront, in the economic field, when it comes to culture, politics, it means that things will change little by little on the continent and it will move forward. And thank you for having invited me to this event. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Baaba Maal, once again.
Now go on to the official opening with Mrs. Aïssata Sall, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Senegalese abroad. You have the floor. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to see you again. So long time, I didn't see you. Yeah.
Thank you, Baaba.
Drop me far away to Podor, our common city. Thank you, my brother. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you. Good evening to you all. I would like to welcome you, warmly welcome you, and express my pleasure and honor to be here this afternoon to share with you these few moments of reflection on philanthropy. But before that, I would like to thank my brother Ebrima Sall. Ebrima Sall, who is an African who is always on reflecting, researching, and thinking forward. Ebrima, congratulations again for this new milestone that you are setting. On behalf of our continent, congratulations to you. Congratulations also to Professor Soko.
What you tell us right now, it's a very, very, very important on this critical issue about philanthropy. Thank you.
I was far from imagining that as a Minister of Foreign Affairs and Senegalese abroad, I would be here today to talk about philanthropy. And when, through my uncle Abda, who I would like to say hello to, Ebrima told me that we are going to do the fourth edition of Africa Philanthropy here in Senegal, and we would like you to come and accompany us. I asked myself, what am I going to say there? And as time went on, I was thinking, and I asked myself, why not? The intellectual, the African, should be able to talk about everything when it's of concern. And this issue is of interest to all of us. For me, first of all, instead, I had written a speech, but I'm not going to read it because I found that it was too academic for the people I see here. I will give it to you for your archives. But I told myself, what are we going to say about philanthropy? First of all, I thought, well, philanthropy is about generosity. But I told myself, no, that's not it. I think that philanthropy is not about generosity. Philanthropy is not goodness. For me, philanthropy is when you feel the duty to do something with what you have. It is an obligation, but a voluntary obligation. So you see, these are contracting terms. In obligation, you have the duty. In a voluntary, you have free choice. So you have to bring the two together in order to get to philanthropy. There are many people who think that they are generous, but they are not philanthropists. You know why? It is because they think that by giving, they're pleasing them. It's for their pleasure, really. They're giving. By giving, they want to reflect a certain image of themselves. But philanthropy, you give because it is a duty for you to give here and now. And I try to find out whether we have examples of great philanthropists that could inspire us. Yes, of course, there are. Especially in the US, the Vanderbilts and all of that who built their fortunes, the Rockefellers, they were not doing it just for money. They were also doing it to give meaning to their lives. That is exactly what Baaba Maal sang earlier on. Do things whilst you are alive, because when you are dead, that is what we will be celebrating. That is philanthropy, is saying that in my life, it is not just about eating and eating what I want. It is not only about once you finish eating, so what? What happens next? Is it only by eating and leisure activities? You need commitment, voluntary commitment in your life. A commitment because you have to do things even if you do not take any profit from it. For me, that is philanthropy. So if we want to see philanthropy as a voluntary duty to do things, then from that moment, four words should come to our mind in order to construct, to build philanthropy. The first word that should come to our mind is, first of all, power. And that it's power, there's policies, there are people, and there are practices. Those are the 4 Ps. Now, power as the one that should organize things. Why? Because in the beginning, we thought that the government can do everything. That's what we call the provident state, not so. But we realize that the state cannot do everything. It cannot do much, in fact, because it has its limits. So when the state is limited, because those who design the state, the actors of the state, the people themselves, take the relay, take the baton and do things on behalf of the state. When these great givers were organizing themselves with their billions, they did not ask the US government what they thought about it. These were the Henry Fords, the Vanderbilts, all of these people for whom every day we're reading about their history, their stories, in order to inspire from their lives. So power is important. We have to know that state cannot do it all, and we have to accompany in order to prolong the activities and even go beyond its actions. The second P, that is policies. Policies are imagined as a series of rules that are going to accompany and organize philanthropy. When in the so-called developed states, you want to take your wealth and give because you are a philanthropist, you are exempted from paying tax. You are exempted from so many things that you had to do as a citizen. But you are no longer an ordinary citizen because you are a philanthropist. So the duties that of a normal citizen, ordinary citizen, you are exempted from that. The state should know that, and we should start from now to start organizing the framework, the regulatory framework under which philanthropy should work. Because we have to admit that our countries are not used to that. We therefore need a corpus of rules that support philanthropy, that come and lay the foundation for philanthropy. That is the second P, which I believe is very important. The third is people. People in this culture of philanthropy that they should adopt. Many of us can be philanthropists, and you do not have to be rich to be wealthy to be a philanthropist. Philanthropy is a way of thinking, is a way of life. Ibrahim, you gave us an example that is very illustrative. When someone tells you thank you, you say in wall of Jirejif, you say Nyoka Bok. In Nyoka Bok, there is a spirit of philanthropy that is so natural that the person is not doing it just to make themselves be seen. They do it because it is natural for them to do what they are doing. It is a voluntary duty for them. So teach philanthropy. Go beyond what you are doing right now. Tell people who have the instinct or feeling of philanthropy in them how to awaken this so that they can do more philanthropic acts. And I'm sure here in Africa, our land is very fertile in that regard. It is our culture, it is our civilization. We women know that in order to bring children into the world, to carry them in our bellies, to nourish them, take care of them, we know what philanthropy, natural philanthropy is all about. And we have to teach that, we have to say it and say it out loud. And the other P is practice. Practice is saying that philanthropy is a model. Of course, the thief that becomes wealthy is not a philanthropy. So we should not consider such as a philanthropy. That is the bad philanthropy. They have they do not do it because it is a voluntary duty. So practices and the best practices of philanthropy we have to emulate, to know who is giving, how they're giving, and where they take what they're giving, where they have taken what they're taking. So philanthropy doesn't go without ethics and without moral values. It cannot go without ethical and moral values. You have to have clean hands, earn your life and be a philanthropist, or be a thief to become a philanthropist. I will say no, we shouldn't accept that. So teach the best practices of philanthropy. I think that is very important. And for that reason, when Ebrima, you said that you have an award that you call African Philanthropy Lifetime Award, Lifetime Award Achieved. I think that is very important because it celebrates models, it award. It's really we need such these things. We need it even more. Like I said earlier, each one of us has their way of being. It can be a philanthropist without being a billionaire that we are admiring from afar. So for me, those 4 P's inspire philanthropy for me, the power, so that they understand they cannot do everything. Everybody has to do something, and we are all philanthropists. Policies, because we have to develop frameworks for philanthropy to work in a secure environment and normative framework. People, because they have to know that they have to take philanthropy forward, celebrate it, and best practice so as to put ethics at the center of philanthropy. Those, for me, are the 4 P's that philanthropy inspire in me. And by saying so, I wanted to also say that I was very happy to be here with you this afternoon, to hear what you, Ebrima, Professor Soko, said. Certainly, this evening I will have another idea of what is philanthropy. This evening I will even ask myself, how can I be an active philanthropist based on what I heard here today? And of course, celebrate the musicians, artists that are here with you, because they are the ones who can move philanthropy forward. Philanthropy for me also is about courage, courage to have a commitment, to do things well, the courage to say, like I said earlier, we do things because we have to do them. We do not do it so because we are expecting something in return. We are expecting money in return, but we do it because it is our duty to do it, because it is something that we have to do here and now. We do it because when we do not do it, we have missed something in our lives. And what we want is to transform the lives of others based on from our own lives, to work for others using resources that with our beliefs, doing things based on what we have, doing things because we believe in them, because we have to do things because we want to. That is philanthropy. Thank you very much for your lessons today.
Merci, Madame.
Thank you, Honorable Aïssata Sall. Thank you for this wonderful speech on philanthropy. Ladies and gentlemen, please, can we have a standing ovation for this beautiful panel that we had this evening?
Et la photo?
And can we have a photograph here?